I cold called a whole bunch of investment banks when I was 17 trying to get a job as an intern, and all of them said the same thing of sort of come back later once you're of age. And the 27th or 28th answered the phone and said, "Actually, we love the fact that you're calling us and that you're trying to get a gig. You can't touch the financial services stuff because there's SEC compliance rules against that. But if you learn Salesforce, we need to move our internal systems from Salesforce Classic to Salesforce Lightning. And there's this great thing called Salesforce Trailhead, which you can take for free in your home and you can learn how to do it. And if you get the badges and do the things you need to do, we'll let you come in and help us with that process."
For
And
free?
so for free at the beginning. That was the whole thing. I started by teaching myself Salesforce in order to get the investment banking job. And once I got there, they did start to pay me. It was great. And I really enjoyed it and I was good at it. And I got hooked up with Salesforce Corporate. I ended up speaking at Dreamforce when I was 18 and experienced that crazy zeitgeist of humanity. And then, long story short, is I decided to transition away from the investment banking and into consulting, and I got a job with Deloitte in their Salesforce practice fresh out of school. That was sort of the plan. But then there was this little thing called the COVID-19 pandemic. The world shut down. I got sent home, and my start date was delayed by 9 months. And so instead of just hanging around watching Netflix, I had 90K in student loan debt, and I had the Salesforce skill set, and I wanted to try and pay off my student loans. So I started doing Salesforce consulting to pass the time. And it just so happened everybody needed it at the right time. And, I had to hire 3 or 4 people within a couple of months in order to keep up with demand. And that was how the company was started. And the rest, as they say, is sort of history. We grew really fast. We expanded into revenue operations. We're the first to do RevOps as a service. And then in May of 24, sold the firm to a company called SBI that does large scale strategy consulting for 100 million to a billion in revenue customers. And now we're a part of that family.
You got back into that consulting world. I had a similar dream as an 18-year-old to become a doctor. And I took my first biology course in college, and I was like, I think I'm going to go into communications. I don't think I'm cut out for this this world. So we make it one way or another. I want to double click a little bit into that scaling journey. And here, we heard a little bit about the early days of how you got started, but what was the process of scaling up? I know you hired a couple of people, but could you share a little bit more of how that journey went?
The beginning, it was finding clients every which way, trying to dial in an offering that people wanted. And for me, the thing that was scary was that most of this work was being done was project based, right? So people would pay you 5 grand or something, which seems like a lot to a 20-year-old kid, but you can't hire somebody to do that work on a full-time basis on just 5 grand, right? You got to fill out the funnel with, 10 5 grand projects every
Yep.
month just to keep the lights on. And so the real key and unlock really came from my risk aversion, which was, hey, I'd much rather you pay me, say, 10 grand for a year's worth of service versus 5 grand for 3 months. Because at least on the 10 grand option, I know that I'm getting whatever that is, $750 a month on a regular forecastable, you know,
Basis.
ready
Yep.
stream. And then I can grow off of that was sort of the thesis. That was my foundational growth. And so, the real key and unlock was going down this subscription model, this managed service model that we were able to onboard a client, make 30% operating profit instead of 50%, and keep them for a very long time and get them to renew instead of just being a one and done, maximize your earnout on the one client and have to go find another. And so the first year we did about 1 million in gross receipts, the second year about 4.3, and kept scaling from there. That was kind of the journey.
How did you find your first few clients? Because I feel like that's always the hard part. You already obviously had with that investment banking some what of a resume, right? So that's helpful. But how did one, two, three, five come in?